Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. It's Thursday. It's Korner Booth pregame.
Hey, this thing on? Hello, testing.
No debate, cause it's all. I'm too official, got the drip, I got the sauce. Bring the proof when it's time to tell the truth. I'll be at the corner booth, find me in the corner booth, yeah. Still standing and defiant. Slay the competition, cause I'm walking like a giant.
What's up, Twitter world? There's my little OJ.
He's got an autographed OJ photo.
Has anybody heard the story about the Glizzy guy?
He fits today's generation.
Oh yeah, speaking of lady basketball players, Lola Bunny, bonkable. Yes or no?
Gotta love StreamYard. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Korner Booth podcast. I am your host, Jared Klim. Once again, you see this, you'll only hear me say it once. Tonight's the national championship game, and so we'll lead in our show today. You'll hear me say it once and one time only. Let's go Irish. Rudy was still offsides, though. Rudy, a.k.a. the worst sports movie of all time. When your own Hall of Fame quarterback, who's actually in the movie, in real life, he's actually was there when Rudy Baker was at Notre Dame, says Rudy was kind of weird, kind of a jerk, all alleged, by the way. And then also Rudy just knew people in Hollywood. That's why he got the movie made. But that being said, anything's better than Ohio State. So, joining me, of course, my co-host extraordinaire, a happy Jets fan today, ladies and gentlemen, Matt Ordazzo.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, it all comes in many ways. On one end, I've got this guy, Lance Newmark, that's coming in for a second GM interview who I've never even was aware of that we interviewed. Find out he spent 2 decades with the Lions organization, which, well, 2 decades with the Lions organization means he's seen some things, and I don't really want that. I've seen some things. I don't want that in my department. So not excited about that. And the fact that he looks like a babied Rex Ryan face and just looks like he could mess the team up, which is already messed up. So not excited about that. But I am excited about Aaron Glenn. So we will see what happens. Apparently he is the Jets. The Jets are his top choice. He has a second interview with them tomorrow, and he plans to only go to the New Orleans Saints for a second visit if you don't offer him a contract. So he's my top choice with Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel off the board. So I'm all on the Aaron Glenn wagon.
Nice. Speaking of Detroit coordinators, reportedly Ben Johnson's going to Chicago. Now, we all heard it was a slam dunk, him going to Las Vegas. It's a little shocking to me. But you know what? I guess good for him. It's kind of I think honestly the better situation would be the Raiders with the fact that they get the key, giving him the keys to the kingdom. He drafts the quarterback. He makes the offense. The defense has kind of already been established. But what do I know? I'm just a journalist. Or a journalist.
I think I'm sure there was more than I'm going to name these 4. The Patriots job, I think, was a little more attractive than led on to be just because you're going to get a young, promising Drake May. The team in a rebuild, but you got a quarterback that's very promising, had a very well season considering what he had to play with. So, but I would say, I think out of the Jets, the Bears, the Raiders, the Jaguars, I think the Bears had the most attractive opening. You're going in with a loaded offense, and you got a feisty defense that's not that bad. So I'm surprised he didn't go to the Raiders because that's all I was hearing. But I'm not surprised in the sense of he's already inheriting a young quarterback that he can mold. They need a little offensive line help, but the run game looked pretty good this past year with Swift on the after the first couple of weeks. He kind of got into this groove. Which they're loaded at receivers. Cole Kmet's a good tight end. And that defense is feisty. So I think Ben Johnson, if everything pans out, could turn them from a 5 or 6 win team back to maybe a 9, 10, 11 win team into the playoffs next year.
I completely agree. My biggest thing is one we already talked about. Their biggest glaring issue. It's not even arguable. It's that they can't block a cold, much less edge rusher. So that's got to be their top priority in the draft. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, going forward, no other head coaching vacancies have been filled yet.
No.
The word on the street is you guys are getting Aaron Glenn. My offensive coordinator will be going to the Dallas Cowboys after the season.
Or DJ's Colts. They hired Lou.
Coordinator.
Yeah, they hired. I don't remember his last name. It's like Arns something. Arnes. So I don't know, but it was the Bengals defensive coordinator this past year. Yep, the Bengals defensive coordinator this past year is now the Colts defensive coordinator, which the biggest weakness as to why the Bengals didn't make the playoffs or win any more games than they did was because the defense was.
The secondary was awful.
Right? Yeah, well, I mean,
your best corner is Cam Taylor-Britt. You're not winning a lot of games because of your defense. Also in the background, in and out will be our boy, producer extraordinaire, who me and him painstakingly put together this new setup. Nate
pays to be Asian, man. I should be an IT guy. I swear to God. If I did, I had a friend of mine ask me what I wouldn't do without sports. I'd be like, honestly, I'd probably be an IT guy.
I'd be so boring.
Wrong.
I would be so boring.
Me too.
I mean, I could already.
Hey guys, you want to read some books today?
Hey, it worked for AJ Brown.
If I feel like I would be doing something like real estate if I didn't do sports.
Military. Yeah, I'd be a career grunt in the Marines or something like that. Something. It's totally up my alley.
You could play for Army or something.
Army. Dude, a box of cream of wheat would be more interesting than me if I didn't have sports. I'd be so boring.
Yeah.
By the way, Mike Kafka's being interviewed by the Saints.
Oh,
so
yeah. This is second interview by the Saints. It sounds like it sounds like if the Jets get Glenn, the Saints are going to go after Kafka, which I don't understand.
I want somebody to explain it to me how that's a smart move, but okay.
Because my understanding, Mike Kafka probably hasn't called plays in a year or two.
That's correct. The last time he called plays was 23. Yeah.
I guess. Hey, for the Saints, maybe that works. I mean, they look at the track record: Dennis Allen, Darren Rizzi, and here we go.
They just never won a good head coach.
I literally will I die on this hill. If it wasn't for one lucky run with Drew Brees and Reggie Bush, the Saints would be the worst organization in football.
Good point.
One lucky run and a couple of playoff appearances. Other than that, their best player was Archie Manning or Aaron Brooks.
Fair.
I'm just spitting facts here, but speaking of spitting facts.
Shout out to underrated Marquise Colston.
Hofstra University, baby. Anyway, so if you guys missed it, on the Bill Up YouTube, me and Korner Booth Kev, Tailgate in the Quad Kev. Did Korner Booth Kev sound so much better? Did our fantasy football preview with our boy Vince from over at Sports. So we did it for the Belly college football preview. So with that being said, Matthew, before we get into tonight's picks, I'm going to break down my keys to the game. So for Notre Dame, it's blatantly obvious. Run the ball. There is no reason why, with Riley Leonard, your quarterback, you do not just say, here you go. Second, use Riley Leonard's strengths, mobility, throw on the run, RPOs. Keep it simple. Allow him to use his athleticism, and you'll be fine. Last but not least, make Will Howard beat you. You do that, you take away the fact that his weapons can turn any 3-yard run into a 40-yard run, you might be okay. Next up, Ohio State's keys to victory. Get the ball to your playmakers in space. Keyshawn Junkins, Emeka Ugba, or Somebody correct me on this guy's name. Every time I screw it
Ibuka.
up.
You're good.
Ibuka. Mecca Ibuka.
Yeah.
Carnell Tate. Keyshawn Junkins. And Trevion Henderson. 5 guys who can take it to the house at any moment. Will Howard has an armored Lamborghini he's driving. Chip Kelly has souped up that engine. Just don't crash it, Will Howard. Next up, Will Howard. Keep his throws simple and explosive. It's kind of a hat and a hat. It's kind of a theme here. Allow your playmakers to make the plays. You are the point guard. Distribute. That's all you got to do. Let everyone else score. And last but not least, pressure. Jack Sawyer and them boys on defense better get after it early. If Notre Dame can establish the run and get up, that's going to make Will Howard have to make difficult throws. That is the key to victory for Notre Dame. That is what I think may happen, because if they can establish the run early and not get caught up in, oh, Jeremiah Smith, Ibuka's open. Oh, no, Trevion Henderson. Allowing yourself to establish the run, clock control, like a certain team from South Philadelphia did last night, to break down your team. That is how you win football games. Worked in Buffalo, worked in Philadelphia. It worked in Kansas City. I'm not going to say it worked up in Detroit last night, 2 nights ago, because that was just a shootout. But all that being said, like it says below, I'm taking the Irish to win. I said 31-27 on the preview show. I think it's going to be 20-16 final score. Ugly game. Just like my cough.
You got 2 teams with 2 very good defenses playing each other. I was looking at some of the stats before we came on today. This was per Fox Sports. It's looking like, so I guess I would say some points on Notre Dame that I was noticing. So Notre Dame, I believe, is on a 13-game win streak since their loss to Indiana. I believe this is per the regular season, but their defense was ranked 2nd nationally, allowing 14.3 points per game to opponents. And they've been averaging about 17 points per game allowed in the playoffs to their opponents. Their run game has been very well, has been doing very well for them in the playoffs, and that's a big reason why they've been winning a lot of these games. And they average about 7.1 yards per carry. And per Fox Sports, the Notre Dame right now has got the number 9 total defense, allowing 298.3 yards per game. Great stats. Defensively, they seem to just be stacked. And even though Riley Leonard isn't the strongest quarterback, he's not a top, I wouldn't say he's a top 10, maybe he's somewhere in the 12-15 range, but they've been getting it done with that run game and that defense. And he's been just fine. He has been, just to use the Jets for an example, he has been what the Jets have been needing, which was they've had a solid run game, a good defense. They just needed a serviceable quarterback, and that's what he's been for the Fighting Irish. You go on the flip side with Ohio State. They have beaten their consecutive 3 college football bracket opponents by a score of 111-52. They have not only covered the spread in their 3 playoff games, but they've beaten their opponents by double-digit points all 3 games. And per Fox Sports, Ohio State currently has the number 1 ranked total defense, allowing 251.1 yards per game to their opponents. They've also been having a pretty good run game. Will Howard obviously is a better quarterback than Riley Leonard, in my opinion. But this is going to be a defensive matchup. I agree with you when you said it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be the under. Whatever the point total is for this game, I would take the under. But this is going to be a defensive matchup, and it's just going to come down to who's going to have the better offense to win this game. I'm siding with Ohio State. I want Notre Dame to win, but just looking at some of the facts, I'm siding with the better offense right now, the one that's kind of been a little more of a hotter streak. Offensively, I'm looking at Ohio State to see if they can continue this momentum of just outscoring their opponents by double-digit points. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be within a 1-possession game. But I'm going to take Ohio State to win the national championship.
Chris also took Ohio State in his final 6-pack run. Nate, my friend, who are you taking tonight?
Man. My co-host Brian's a Notre Dame fan. I've been riding with his Irish, pretty much all playoffs long and all season long because that's my guy. But Ohio State's offense is the toughest offense the Irish have faced all year long. And I know you, Jared, wanted the Irish to win because your hatred for Ohio State on your list is higher compared to
It's apples
the
and
Irish.
oranges, but they're both fruits.
Exactly, right. But with that being said, I have a lot of faith in Ohio State's offense. If they can get off to a fast start, I don't think the Irish can come back. And depending on Leonard's arm, is just not the formula that the Irish want to depend on. So give me the Buckeyes in this one.
There you go. Honestly, it's going to be an interesting game. And I think game kicks off at 9:00, right?
Oh, I thought it was earlier, but let's see. Yeah, I hope it's not 9:00. I'm gonna be 7:30.
Oh, good. So we'll be done with this and the game's kicking off. Sweet.
Thank God. If it's 9:00, I was gonna watch the first quarter and a half, halftime, and I was gonna be in sleep.
It was very funny to me because yesterday, obviously, it was NFL football. Me and some affiliate management and some of our shows had a meeting yesterday in the middle of that Bills Ravens game, which that game almost shifted on its noggin while we're in this meeting. I'm trying to catch up on it while the meeting's going on, and I'm trying to pay attention. It's so hard doing that, but I just want to take a moment to understand something. Both of these teams have had horrible, inexcusable losses, but they're here. On the Super Show, we did a little recap of how these teams got here, and so they asked. Vince asked me, "Are the Irish fortunate and are like? Did you think they were going to be here?" I said no, but they lost early, and in the case of Ohio State, they're a top team who lost to good teams and then lost one bad game, but didn't have to play the championship, which probably saved their season. So when it's all said and done, I kind of look at it as this simple fact that this is honestly the best and worst case scenario for the College Football Playoff Committee. Because one, you get two high seeds in there. I believe 7 and 8, right? Kevin of Tailgate on the Quad did bring up a very good point. Why not have a reseeding after the initial game? For the simple reason, you look at Oregon, who didn't have to play for a month, and then congratulations, you get the hottest team in the country. Ohio State kicks your doors in on New Year's Day. I'm sorry, that just ain't fair for the number one overall seed. I think that should be established. Other than that, and maybe swapping out Miami with Indiana, I think this is the best possible case scenario. What do you think, Matt?
No, I agree with everything you're saying. Best possible scenario, substituting them out. You hit the nail right in the head. You took the words right out of my mouth, to be honest with you. I'm excited for this matchup. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm just itching for the 7:30. I've been waiting for this game since last week. Yeah. I zoned out for a second too.
My team was eliminated, so I was already a little bitter. But then on top of that, my pro team is going on a run. So it's kind of hard for me to kind of balance both. I mean, I'm excited as a sports fan because either way, it's going to be newsworthy. But at the same time, I'm kind of just like, yay, free football. But at the same time, I'm like, yay, something to keep me going until Sunday.
I wish I had the problem of trying to balance both things at the same time, but my Jets, I don't have to balance anything past pretty much Halloween. No, this is going to be just a really good. I love a good defensive game. Like I love those games where it's like 20-16, 21-17. Like sometimes I like those games more than when they become like 45-38. So this is going to be a highly anticipated game. I'm expecting just both units to come out just guns blazing, just ready to go. For the record, I do want Notre Dame to win. Just for a competition perspective, I am taking Ohio State. But I am rooting for Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish with this one. Ohio State, when we were in high school, when we were in college, Ohio State was just that team that just kept winning. I felt like, and I was just so tired of it. And I just haven't gotten over that feeling. Because when I started actually kind of getting into the college football, I remember Ohio State was just always a force.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it was just them in Alabama, but it was a lot of times it was just back and forth between those two. And I just haven't gotten that out. And I'm still like anybody but Ohio State, anybody but Alabama. But I remember Braxton Miller when we were in college. Braxton Miller, Cardale Jones, JT Barrett.
All right. Well, I hedge my bets. I have Notre Dame money line. I have Ohio State minus 13, and I have Ohio State at minus 8. So I have some interesting bets coming in.
I've got a little something once I get this little face recognition to log me in. So obviously I took the Ohio State money line. So I anticipate this to be a running game a lot, but I took the over on Travion Henderson's rushing total of 58.5 plus a Henderson touchdown. And I took Riley Leonard over a half touchdown passing and Jeremiah Smith over his 80 receiving. That came with that was originally a plus 914. $10 would have got you 91, but I had a 30% profit boost, so it turned out to be plus 1188.
All right, I got you. I apologize to our ex-viewers. This apparently has been accidentally streaming to our YouTube. It's been deleted off there already, but it's just, forced to habit. By the way, for those of you wondering, this show will now be uploaded and be brought to YouTube the next day, so you'll be able to watch it at your own leisure. You don't have to always be here on time to watch. Anyway, so I love those bets. But, Matt, as much as I love to talk about this national championship game for hours, we had a lot of football to cover from the last 2 days.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We had great games.
Including a game which basically had my mother cursing the existence of the refs and the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll start off with this one. The refs in Kansas City Chiefs 23, Houston Texans 14. And Jared, why are you calling out the refs? You always call out the refs. When Troy Aikman and Joe Buck are calling out the referees and Patrick Mahomes, you know it's bad.
Even the rules analyst guy was also siding with Buck and Aikman.
Mind blown. Also, the second I saw Mahomes try to flop to get a foul, I'm just like, all respect for you is gone. You are officially the villain for this playoffs.
Yeah, no, the officiating was highly questionable. There was the roughing the passer on Mahomes, which, yes, it did look like a high hit, but it was not at all anywhere. It wasn't, he just didn't hit him in the head. It looked like he hit him right in the chest. And there was a second call that was thrown, blanking, can't think of it, but they didn't call it as well. And it was something that was in the favor of the Chiefs. One thing I actually was happy to.
Juwan Taylor being offsides every snap.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the one thing I liked was that they did call a couple penalties on Taylor because they never do that. And he is always the offside.
He's the most penalized guy in football, but it's hilarious because he does it every play. They only call it every couple.
Yeah. Stroud actually didn't even look that bad either. Like compared to the last handful of the games, he actually looked like he looked like last year's Stroud during that game. And then they had to top it off with Taylor Swift. And they're a good unit. Don't get me wrong. They're not talked about as much as they probably should be. Trent McDuffie is a fantastic corner.
Sensational corner.
Mahomes, 16 for 25, 177, one touchdown. He has been having a non-Mahomes like year. They're still getting the job done. The defense has just been keeping him in the games. Young players have been stepping up. I forgot who it was that said it. Somebody within today said, Alex Smith, Chiefs quarterback, could say he's biased. I don't think he's wrong with this, but he said no quarterback has done more with less than Mahomes. And if you really think about it, the year they won the Super Bowl, most recently they won the last year or so, it was like Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Montez Valdez-Scantling.
You know, one of the greatest tight ends of all time.
No, I know, but like when you have like a bunch of fours
And
as
Isaiah
your
Pacheco,
receivers,
top 10 running back.
yeah. But when we look at the receiver perspective, he had pennies to throw to, and he was still like Terrace Tony was still looking decent, even besides Terrace Tony. But he's just this year he's not having Mahomes like year. But
half bias. I'd say like he's not completely wrong, but like all right, let's relax here, okay? Like
I mean, listen, people have been stepping up. Xavier Worthy has stepped up in the absence of Rice and the absence of Marquise Brown. You've even had Hunt and can't remember the other. I'm blanking on the rookie's name in the backfield. They stepped up in the absence of Pacheco those 8 weeks. Carson Steele. Listen, they champion the next man up mentality. I think that really speaks to the volumes of Andy Reid's coaching. But hey, listen, Hunt was the leading rusher that game, not even Pacheco. He actually out carried him as well. Kelsey had a Kelsey game, 117, 1 touchdown. It sucks because it was the kicking too. I mean, I know even if they made all of the kicks, they still wouldn't have scored enough points to win the game. But when you miss a field goal, you have a block field goal, you miss an extra point, that's 7 points left on the board. That could have been a 23-21 game. And that just changes everything because the momentum just shifts when you got within a 1-possession game.
It's just the biggest problem, I think, is that the Texans had 2 possession changing penalties, but they also didn't help themselves either with a couple 3-and-outs. I think they need help in the offensive line, obviously, but this game was ugly. This is a Chiefs victory, which obviously has a little taint asterisk on it, whatever you want to put it, but what are you going to do? Next game, never in doubt. Commanders continue to shock the world. Jane Daniels looked great. Jared Goff looked awful. The play calling of Ben Johnson looked terrible. Was he distracted? Yeah. Did he pull a Jonathan Gannon? Maybe. We don't know. But the double pass with Jamison Williams throwing it into coverage, stupid. The deep post where he stared down the safety, stupid. Overthrowing a player that led to a pick six, stupid. Oh, and look, Frankie Louvu with another cheap shot at quarterback. Shocker.
Lou, what a name.
Frankie Louvu. We are an anti-Frankie Louvu podcast on the show. But James Daniels was sensational. Brown and McLaurin look great. Sucks they're losing it. They lost a guard out for the season. Defense made the plays it had to. Very similar teams, though. High-scoring offenses, banged up, and not that great defenses. Better quarterback won. That's what it came down to.
Well, Lions defense is better than this, and I think my theory with all of this is that going last year, losing in the NFC Championship game, this year having the 15-2 season they had, defense was playing a lot better than it has the last couple of years. You could see the progression on that side of the ball, as well as the progression on the offense in the last 3 or 4 years since Dan Campbell's gotten there. Mm-hmm. I think this was the year that they were self-proclaiming this is the Super Bowl year for the Lions. This is when we finally win it. And I'm not saying they overlooked the Commanders. I think maybe they were thinking a little too far ahead. And sometimes you get something like this. Because now I'm not even just saying them. Us as fans, I was already thinking ahead. I thought this was going to be a great game.
Yeah, we on the show, we were like, is it going to be Stafford versus Goff round 2? Or is it going to be Eagles-Lions, the game we've wanted since week 1?
We all said this was going to be a good game, but we all, not one of us, I think, thought the Commanders were actually going to win. Not only win, but win by 2 possessions.
Well, to be honest, they were driving to score and possibly get within shot range, and then Goff threw an interception.
Yeah.
So this game looked a lot closer than the score indicates, but dude, you just can't. You can't.
No.
So can't turn the ball over that many times and win. Expect to win. Seriously, especially if Jaden Daniels playing that well. Also, the amount of injuries in the defense, we knew it was going to come down to it. if the Commanders didn't do it to them, the Eagles or the Rams are going to do it to them. Or, God forbid, the Bills or Chiefs or Ravens. So, at the end of the day, it's kind of expected. Lions had a great season, but unfortunately, the injury bug is undefeated.
You have listen, I don't think any of us would have ever predicted a 12-5 Commanders season and the NFC Championship. Jaden Daniels is that guy. He is a fantastic quarterback. He has already proven that he should be Rookie of the Year. I think for Offensive Rookie of the Year, he should be Offensive Rookie of the Year. He has a chance to potentially, because even though, like, spoiler, I do think Philly will win, but anything is possible. He has the potential to be the first ever rookie quarterback, I believe, to go to the Super Bowl in his rookie season. He has that opportunity right in front of him. But that team is just playing well. Dan Quinn has got this team playing very well. It's amazing how a dysfunctional organization decides to sell and what can happen when you have some competency in an organization. But they look great. The defense, like I said, has a lot of holes in it. And the Eagles are a type of team to exploit that.
We'll cover this on Thursday, so let's not get too much into this.
Yeah. That's the most I'll say. The last thing I will say about this game was I don't remember the last time I think I've seen 4 different players attempt to pass in a divisional round of a playoff game, which Jared Goff obviously threw 40 passes. David Montgomery threw a pass. Teddy Bridgewater even came in for a drive, threw a pass, and then Jameson Williams with his interception. So you had 4 different players on the Detroit Lions attempt to throw a pass.
Wild. Teddy Two Gloves appearance. Gotta love it.
That's pretty cool. When like a month or two ago, he won a
championship with Miami or Northwestern.
Yeah. Won a high school state championship as their head coach, and then all of a sudden those guys are at home celebrating and they're looking up at the TV and their coach is playing in a playoff game. That was pretty
coolest
cool.
thing ever.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of those Eagles,
this is a great game.
This game took years off my life.
I bet it did. It was really fun to watch, though. I'll tell you that. That bad man.
Dude, Saquon is a bad man. Joe Shane should be just like locking up his door to keep John Mara away from him.
I miss him.
Poor Joe Shane, because besides the fact that he obviously let Saquon walk, and Saquon is having probably the greatest running back season by a Philadelphia Eagle history. He also just has that video of his kid telling him, "You get this job once, go trade up for Jaden Daniels," like floating around the internet every second you go on X. So between him letting Saquon go, he also has to deal with the fact that video keeps floating around.
But we know why, that's not true, right? That he couldn't get Daniels, right? Can we make that clear, right? Yes.
Well, yeah, he had no shot. Yeah.
Thank you very much. See,
the Commanders were not letting that one go.
Yeah,
I know,
if
but
we can't trade up with the pass, we can't trade up with the Commanders.
The only way they were getting Jaden Daniels is if the Bears did a 3-team swap or something.
The only way,
or if there were like a Larry Tunkel style video.
The fact that it was the Commanders, an in-division, team for you guys, you would have had to give them like your next 4 or 5.
Sign over ownership of the team to the Mara family, basically.
Yeah. It would have had to have been. It would have had to have been something as insane as when the Saints traded all of their picks to get Ricky Williams.
Or those same Commanders, when they were the other team name, traded all those picks up to go get RG3. Or Falcons trade up to go get Julio Jones. Similar stuff. So, anyway, back to this. So this show is aptly named 2 quarterbacks, 2 wins, 2 different headlines. And it's for the simple reason that yesterday, Josh Allen, who we'll talk about in a little bit, finished with 127 passing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, so congrats, Josh, and was 16 of 22. Jalen Hurts, 15 of 20, 128 yards, plus a 44-yard scamper that was impressive as a rushing touchdown. He would have had a second one if Lane Johnson was not offsides. Sorry, false started. Anyway, I love Josh Allen. Josh Allen, if it's not Saquon Barkley, deserves to be the MVP. Josh Allen played great. He did what his team expected him to do to get that win last night in nasty weather against a great defense. So did Jalen Hurts, who probably has a sprained patella tendon, MCL or ACL or something today. On top of that, was sacked by a very good Rams pass rush multiple times. Had a drop by his best receiver in the end zone. Yes, A.J. Brown catches that ball. That's 6. Had multiple plays called back. And still didn't make any mistakes. Also had a hit on Devontae Smith by Witherspoon. If that hit wasn't an illegal hit, we're talking he also had plays taken back from Dallas Goedert and others. I'm sick and tired of the media bashing Hurts, who just does what he needs to do to win. He doesn't turn the ball over. Nick Saban said it best on McAfee today. He does what he needs to do. Most mobile quarterbacks hang on to the ball because they don't want to let a play die. Jalen understands. By letting the play die, there's less chance of turnovers. You know how many turnovers Jalen has since week 4? Total. He has 8 total in the damn season. That's incredible. His last turnover, I believe, was an interception. I think in our win over whoever we beat before the Commanders was his last interception. I believe it was Baltimore. Not Baltimore. It was way back on the run. Anyway. Saquon Barkley is the storyline. But the underlying storyline is Kellen Moore is a horrible OC. Dallas, take him, please. We'll take Doug Peterson. Philly will drop 50 next year if Dougie P's our OC. But despite that, we're not turning the ball over. This defense is mean, nasty. Rain, sleet, or snow, the birds are trained to go. God, I love that. Those post-game interviews are hilarious. But we have to talk about the fact that Jalen Carter is a top 3 defensive tackle in this league, and he's not 3. He's 2 or 1, depending on your preference. That man single-handedly wrecked that drive for the Rams. Nolan Smith will be an all-pro edge rusher by the end of next year. You can put it in writing. Kid's a freak. In the last 2 games, it's 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and I believe a pass deflection, a few others. And on top of that, Zach Bond might be one of the best inside linebackers in football this year. We lost our best corner for half the game, almost the full game. Isaiah Rodgers stepped up. Got burnt once, said never again. Gardner Johnson played great. So did Slay, made the big plays when we needed them. At the end of the day, this Eagles defense and Saquon were the heroes. And I got to give my flowers to Jake Elliott. Banged home 3 field goals in driving snow. Did he need to miss those 2 extra points? No, but I'll take the field goals. So to the Rams, though, Jared Verse now off at defensive line. As much as I can't stand Jared Verse, he was getting after it. Him and that Rams pass rush is incredible. I feel bad for Kyron Williams because, dude, that sucks. I'm sorry. 2 bad fumbles. Matthew Stafford still got it. And so does Puka Nacua. Cooper Kupp, we'll see. But that Rams team is very good.
He needs to go.
We'll take him. We'll pop him in the slot. We'll give him Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, his time in LA
After the season, let's go get Dotson when it's a chip first. But we'll take Kupp in the offseason.
Yeah,
that's
this
my thoughts on
was
the game. Matthew, it's all you.
For me, I'm not concerned about Philly's passing game. When I think you said it best, Jalen Hurts knows what he needs to do. When you have the best rushing attack in the league, and you've also got a 2,000+ yard rusher, and you got the same running back that I just did the math has ran for 324 yards, 324 yards in the last 2 games. That's amazing. you're averaging 150 plus yards per game rushing. Like he had 205 this past week, and then he had 119, I believe it was the week before. He doesn't need to throw for 300 yards a game. I understand everybody's like, oh, well, they're not putting up maybe the amount of points that they should be putting up. They're winning games. They're 14-3. It doesn't matter if they're only putting up 24, 28 points a game and not 45. They're winning the games, and that's what matters. He doesn't need to be. Can he be a top 5 quarterback in this league? Yeah, he's shown that he can be. Does he have to be? No. Because Saquon Barkley can take that pressure off of him. And like you said, he had similar stats to Josh Allen. He had a rushing touchdown as well. He doesn't need to be pretty, doesn't need to be flashy. He knows what he needs to do. He just has to complete the passes and be serviceable because, like you said, Saquon Barkley can look at him and say, I like what I see. I got this. And he hands it off and he just runs 70 yards like nothing. Like he has that luxury. Why not enjoy it? So I think Philly's fine. I think he can very well come out next week and throw for 250, 275, 300 yards and have 2-3.
Because the Commander's going to load the box.
He can. He has that capability. He doesn't have to do it every single game. Some quarterbacks think that they have to be that guy, and they forcibly try to do it each week, and they keep making mistakes. And like you said, Jalen Hurts does not really make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think they played this perfectly. They didn't need to be pretty. They didn't need to be flashy. I think Sirianni has learned over the last year or so, like, I don't need to be this unpredictable, like, hey, let's do this crazy little play. Like, we can just win games and move on. And that's what they did. They knocked the Rams.
They just don't need to bring it out every time.
Yeah, they got the Rams. They beat the Rams up, not beat them up, but they beat the Rams. They kind of stuffed it to Jared Verse. I love how the fans also gave it to him.
Snowballed the hell out of him coming out of the stadium.
Yeah. Stafford actually played, I would say, very well.
Oh, I see. He played great.
Yeah, 324 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Had it like 5 yards on the ground. Kyron Williams had a good game minus those fumbles. Cooper Kupp's taking a step back. It might be good to get a change of scenery because Puka Nacua is the guy now. Well, we'll see if Stafford comes back.
Go draft a receiver in the draft this year. Go get one of these guys, maybe like a trip for Luther Bowden.
Yeah. We'll see if Stafford's there next year. I feel like every year since the Super Bowl, we've been on the retirement watch with him.
Yeah. I feel like this is the last. I think he's got one more year left. I think they go get a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round, maybe a Jackson Dart, or maybe they go grab a Quinn Ewers late in the 1st round, and then they say, hey, let's go get a receiver in the 2nd, see if we can move off Kupp, re-sign Kyron Williams, and we'll go from there.
And I'll end my analysis. There we go. I'll end my analysis with this. I'm obviously not being biased. I'm not an Eagles fan, but I'm not just saying this because, you're my buddy and you're an Eagles fan, but I think Philly is the most well-rounded team in the entire league right now. Like, they have one of the best defenses. They got a great offense. I think they may be one of the most well-rounded teams, definitely in the playoffs that are left, but like in the league in general. And I think that's why they have gone as far as they have and have won the games that they won. They're
a team. They're a family. They have a culture.
Yeah.
Culture and team win when players don't. So,
yeah.
Also, remember, kids, the old motto, they don't ask how, they ask how many. Not how'd you win the game, how many games did you win?
Yeah. And they may not have won the Super Bowl with Sirianni, but they've been there. So they've got a coach that knows what it takes to get there, and he knows what it's going to take to win. Since, he might play. We could see a rematch, and he knows what he did wrong.
All that smoke. I want all that smoke. All right. Last but not least, another one of those games they don't ask how, they ask how many. God, I feel awful for Lamar. He played great. This isn't on him. He made the plays he had to. It sucks. He really does. And I hate giving this guy credit, but Tyler Cohen, shout out Tico, he's a big on TikTok, sports commentator, said it best. At a certain extent, you have to put some of this on Lamar, but he's not the biggest one to blame. This is not as good of a Ravens team as they had last year when they had a shot at beating the Chiefs. Last year was their window. This team, if they got through Kansas, Buffalo, who honestly Buffalo was annoying me a little bit. They were kind of playing with their food. They easily could have put this game out of reach before halftime. And they played with their food and they let Baltimore get back in. So shout out to Lamar for getting some fight. We got to talk about the elephant in the room, though. Mark Andrews. A costly fumble that flipped the game's momentum and the worst drop on a 2-point conversion to tie it I've ever seen.
And I'm not speaking on, I don't know him, so I'm not at all speaking on him or his character or anything like that. I'm just speaking on what I physically saw for those 10 seconds on the television after it happened. I didn't even really see a remorse in his face. Like, he didn't even look like he was upset. He just kind of was like, look at that face. Like, man, I can't believe that happened. All right, let me go back to the sideline.
Shock.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll also say that Josh Allen should be getting the same treatment that Jalen Hurts has been getting this last week or so, because they each, like you said, they had identical games, and you're only hearing one side of it from about one quarterback about how he hasn't been playing as statistically as maybe he should be. But I thought Lamar played well. I know he had that was a really bad interception. He acknowledged it. That was a bad interception. He did have that fumble as well. But it's hard. Mark Andrews that's the highlight of that game. I mean, that big catch that he had, he should have went down. That was a big. It was a big completion for the first down. It was a little late in the game. Caught it. He tried to be cute and juke out the way. Didn't really protect the ball. Obviously, got punched down. That was a big turnover. And then that 2-point conversion. That's going to be on replay for a lot of people's minds and on their Twitters. But like, that was bad. That was a good pass right in the breadbasket.
The Bills defense with the hustle plays.
Yeah,
that wins you championships. Remember, boys, my Super Bowl preview. I said my Super Bowl picks. I said Bills Eagles final. That was going to be it.
I feel bad because this was a game that Lamar could have gotten over the hump. Could have had a rematch with the Chiefs in the championship game. This was a game where he made mistakes, but ultimately, I don't think he's the reason why they lost this game.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry had 84 yards on the run. That was not as big as last week. James Cook didn't even have that crazy of a game. 67 yards on the ground rushing. It was a very, very, very good and entertaining game. I picked the Bills to win, but I was rooting for the Ravens just because I'm an AFC East fan. And now I can't stand next week's game. I don't want any of them to win. It's not going to be fun.
Yeah, my mother, I love watching her. I love watching her watch football because she's a fan. She's an Eagles fan, but like she likes watching like just football in general. And so she said something and she goes, I love the playoffs. Everyone plays so much more out of their minds. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Honestly, you're kind of right. It means more. You see it. So I think this is Lamar and the Ravens. I think they were going to be a fun game against the Chiefs, but dude, Bills Chiefs, this is going to be a fun Sunday. I am excited. It's going to be so emotional between both games.
Yeah, it's this is going to be probably one of the most anticipated, the most exciting championship weekend games you can ever imagine. I mean, one, you've got the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes rematch. Yeah. And it has been pure cinema every single time they've met in the playoffs, especially the last time when it came down to like those 18 seconds and Mahomes led that drive. They play some of the best football that two teams could ever play. It's like watching Brady and Manning all over again. And then in my opinion, the most exciting game for me, because this is just going to be the most fun, I think. But like, I never in a million years would I ever think I was going to be uttering the words Washington Commanders, Philadelphia Eagles, an NFC Championship game.
NFC East Championship game.
I think it's
fun because you're about to see the hatred that is an NFC East rivalry. Because
that is going to be the most tough. That game is going to get
so chippy.
Oh yeah,
I guarantee at least two fights. Somebody's going to get decapitated. There's going to be a couple fines, maybe one injection. These games have been brutal since I was a kid.
Between
Commanders Eagles games get the most chippy. The Giants Eagles, it's just kind of weird. There's a lot of smack talking, but there's respect. Eagles Cowboys is its own animal. But Eagles Commanders is an odd game because Commanders, the upstart, oh, we're not the little brothers anymore. Okay. We still remember you guys cheap shot and Hurts and then getting Johnson ejected. All right. Trust me, we don't forget. We don't forget. So it's going to be a fun game. But
I'm going to say between documented and undocumented fights, I'm going to say there's going to be 20 fights and probably 8 of them are going to be fans.
I'm saying 15 of them are fans, about 5 on the field.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Nate, any thoughts on these weekend's games? Any 4 of them? What stood out to you? I know you've been working hard in the backstage, but got to give you your time to shine. 4 great games this weekend we got to watch.
Definitely was, man. Like all of us, definitely shocked by the Lions result. I said it on the last show that we had on Thursday that it was destiny for the Lions to be in the NFC Championship. Well, I was wrong there, obviously. Bills, my thoughts on them. I want them to win the whole thing. I feel like they deserve it after going through so much stuff in the 90s. Losing 4 straight Super Bowls in a row. Yeah. I believe it was. But more important,
started, by the way, if they don't win this year, they're winning next year.
100%. I think for me, maybe the receiving core could use some help next in the offseason, but for right now, they're doing pretty good as it is because of Josh Allen and everything.
Amari Cooper instead of just using him as a distraction.
Yeah, exactly. Because he was like non-existent on Sunday, but they still pulled it off. But more importantly, look, man, as much as I hate to see it, I'm glad Saquon's on a better team, man. Better offensive line. I heard Daniel Jones was actually at the game supporting Saquon in his own little suite. So, even though, the teams are rivals, I'm glad to see that, former teammates of his are, there to show up and watch him and support him. And, you being the boss of this show, it's pretty cool to see the Eagles beat the NFC Championship again. Now, can they beat the Commanders? We'll see. It's going to be a great game,
this
overall.
This is the most nervous I've been all playoffs. Let's put it
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. But I think we can all agree, as long as the Bills can take care of business next Sunday, I don't really care who. For me personally, I don't care who really wins the whole thing. As long as we don't see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl or at worst win the Super Bowl.
Let's be honest. The only way it's acceptable to have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl is if they're playing Philly. If it's Chiefs Commanders, that would be the worst case. Nobody wants it.
That's the worst matchup in you guys' opinion, right?
Because then I have to root for the Commanders.
Yeah.
At that point, which would kill me. But at the same time, nobody wants a three-peat. Nobody.
Yeah, no one does. No one does.
No, I'm sorry. I don't even care if the Bills go. And if the Commanders were to advance and it's the Commanders Bills, I'm going Commanders. I can't do it. I don't want anybody in my division to ever feel happiness ever again.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Korner Booth podcast, episode 314. 2 QBs, 2 wins, 2 different stories. We will be live on Thursday on our YouTube at 7 o'clock for the Korner Booth pregame, NFC AFC Championship edition. Also put a bow on the college football season, as well as a few other little hijinks. We'll be crowning our winner for the picks competition. And last but not least, we will also just get into our usual round of hijinks. So, that being said, this episode will obviously be uploaded tomorrow, so you'll already know who won the national title at that point. But, hey, listen, for those of you who enjoy the show, appreciate you stopping by on Twitter, X, and Instagram. And for everyone else, shout out to our sponsors. Righteous Film Beef Jerky. Cannabis CBD, promo code BELIEVE20 for 20% off your purchase at checkout. And, of course, SeatGeek, promo code BELIEVE Sports for your first $20 off your first purchase, only your first, at the website at checkout. As my voice is starting to really tail off, we hope you guys have a great Monday. Enjoy the championship game. We'll see you Thursday. I may not talk until Thursday. Peace.
Love you guys.